time practicing at home or away from the golf course. It could be because of weather, clearly not today. It could be because we're restricted from getting to golf courses, which we are at the moment with COVID. Now, hopefully by the time you see this, we're well and truly past that. At some point we will be, I'm sure. What we can do though is by taking footage correctly, it's going to help us either use that footage to brag to mates about a shot we've played really nicely, to send to our coach so that the coach can then analyse that footage most easily, and we'll talk a little bit about how you go about doing that, or for you just to have a look and see how you're progressing over time. So in our pockets, we all have these things, mini computers, mini videos. Now, the way that you use this and things that you can do can make the process of taking footage really helpful for your coach, or maybe not so much so. So let's have a look first of all. First thing, this is my sunglasses cleaning rag. So what I'm going to do is use this cloth and clean the lens on the camera. Because we're handling these things all the time, even if our hands are clean, they will still leave little smears on the camera lenses. So I want to make sure that that's kept nice and clean. So even if I think the camera lens is clean, I'll still give it a wipe with that cloth. It doesn't have to be the glasses cleaning cloth, it could be any other type of cloth. As long as it's a fine cloth, even a tissue will help. The second thing is I want to record in portrait mode, which is the camera running straight up and down. It doesn't matter whether I use the back camera or turn the camera around and use the reverse facing camera. Again, make sure if you do use the reversing, you're still cleaning the screen where the camera is, usually at the top of the frame. So record in portrait mode with a clean camera. Set your camera on a tripod, or set your phone on a tripod, so that you don't get any movement during the filming. And you'll tend not to get your camera on an angle there. So that again makes it easier for your coach when you're having a look at it. The third thing is set the camera on the tripod about 1 metre off the ground. Now, if we have a look at more specific things that can help you, first of all is we need the footage to be taken square on. So from here, if I set myself up, I'm standing at right angles to the camera. And that's a very different look than if I happen to stand aiming somewhere different. So if I'm having a look at footage from here, then I'm getting it from a different perspective. So we definitely want to be square on. The second thing about being square on is I'm square on, but I don't want to be square on to the side. I want to be right in front of the camera. The camera lens is not like a perfect representation of reality. There's a little bit of distortion there. So as soon as you move away from center, that's going to influence the quality of the footage and what the coach can see. If I'm filming from down the line, again, the same thing. I want to stand so that the camera's looking straight down the path that I want to hit the ball. Now, the positioning of the camera is also going to affect the look of the path of the club. Remember I said just a moment ago about the distortion? That's what we need to take into account. Now, different coaches have different preferences about camera positioning. My preference is that when you set yourself up, the camera is around about here somewhere. So it's about 1 metre off the ground, and it's about halfway between where my club head is or where the ball is and where my body is. So it's around about here somewhere. And if I'm looking at footage that's recorded from that same position, it's really easy to compare one swing to the next. If I'm getting footage that's where the camera's in all sorts of different positions, makes it a lot more difficult to correctly analyze, but also to compare with previous footage. So use those ideas, and also with what you're about to see, particularly with trimming video. A normal golf swing will take about 2 seconds. A video that's recorded in slow motion is going to take around about 10 seconds. And when you do record your swing, you'll hit the record button, you'll come back. The first swing that you make is likely to be sort of a bit rushed. So record 2 swings. The second swing, take your time, make your shot, then go back and turn the camera off. And what you can do is you can trim the time that you turn the camera on, come in, play your first shot, and trim the end of it after you played your second shot and gone back and turned off the camera. So all that you're left with is just that second swing. That's really important if you're filming in slow motion, because the swing itself is going to take about 10 seconds. But if you're turning the camera on, walking in, playing your shot, going back and turning off the camera, you're probably creating over a minute worth of footage. In fact, probably about 2 minutes worth of footage, which is a waste of digital space, but it's also a lot more to sort of filter through before you even see the swing starting. So have a look at what's coming next about the best way to trim particularly slow-mo video, so that you can then send it to your coach in an app, or even just the raw footage. Okay, so now you've got your camera set up on a tripod, you've cleaned the lens, you've got the camera set in portrait mode so that it's long ways, exactly the same way as you can see the screen in front of you right now, rather than sideways, which is landscape mode. Now what we're going to do is we're going to import some video. One way of importing video is to actually take the video using the camera on your phone. That's the best way to do it when we want to film at slow motion. So now, if I click the camera on my phone, I get a pretty look at my computer screen here. If we have a look at the bottom, above the white button, at the bottom of it, we can see photo. Now, if I slide across so that video is above the red button now, so that's ready to go. If I hit the red button, it'll begin recording. That's going to record at normal video speed, or normal speed. And I'll probably have a swing time of around about 2 seconds. But of course, the time that I take from when I've turned the camera on, I've stood in front of the camera, and then hit a shot and then move back to the camera, that obviously is going to take a lot more than 2 seconds. In fact, what I'd suggest is that you take 2 shots. So turn your camera on, hit 2 shots, don't rush, then go turn the camera off, and now you've got 2 recordings. The reason that you would take 2 is that you're probably going to rush the very first one. Now, if I slide this across even more, whoops, wrong way, so that we actually get to slow-mo now. So when I record with this, it's going to take about a 2-second goal swing, which is normal time, and turn it into roughly 9 or 10 seconds of footage. So it's going to take a lot longer. Do the same as what I suggested with the normal speed video, in that you're going to make 2 swings, and we're going to trim one of them. So let's say we've taken the footage, and if I'll hit slow-mo, and I'll just move the camera around just a little bit so that we can see there actually is some movement in there. All right, so now I've got my footage. If I choose to edit it, let's have a look and see what I need to do to create that edit, so I don't have all of that extra footage that I don't need. So first of all, if we have a look, the top screen there is the beginning of the footage, or the point in that footage that we can see. And my little slider, you can see I've moved along there. Now that particular line that I just moved the slider, I can trim the video. Now if I tap on the little white arrows that are either end of that footage, all of a sudden they'll turn yellow. Now if I bring the one on the left in, that's trimming off the very start of the footage that I wanted to create. And if I trim a little bit from the end, back to here, so now I've only got the piece of footage that's in between, or in that yellow border. If we have a look at the line below that, we can see some vertical lines. Now some of them are spaced further apart, and some of them are spaced closer together. The ones that are further apart is where I've got my slow motion footage. And if you might have noticed that if you've ever taken slow motion footage, the start of your footage and the end of your footage, if you haven't trimmed it, plays at normal speed and then suddenly it slows down. At the end of it, it speeds up again. Now, what we want to do is to avoid having that speed up occur halfway through your golf swing. Now, I can move those lines, those vertical lines, and if we have a look on the bottom of screen here, we can see how I'm starting to move this line here. Now, what I want to do is slide that across so far so that it's actually outside the trim area. So now we can see with the footage below where this white line was sort of inside the footage. So now I'd have part of my footage at normal speed. I slide it back out. I'll need to go further than that. Now it's outside of my footage. So now all of my footage is actually in slow motion. Now you don't need to worry about this when you're filming at normal speed, but at slow motion you do. And when I click done in the yellow there, then I have the option of saving that as a trimmed video. There's no need to save it as a new clip because then I'll have 2 copies of it. One of them will be shorter than the other. So I'm going to hit just save video. So click that. Now, and it's prepared. So now I'm ready to import that video into whichever coaching platform I want to use.